Hey guys, Liquid here, and welcome to an update video. I'm making this in response to a few users who have asked me the question of how have I learned Japanese, and I guess in response to this and the recent sort of direction with my channel of, doing Japanese games and whatnot. And so I thought I'd take a stab at explaining my history and whatnot and how I got to the point that I am now. Now, for the point that I am now, I will cover that. I'll try to cover basically everything in as detail as I can. But really, if you look at my Boku no Natsuyasumi videos, um, that probably does a somewhat decent job at showing my ability. Um, you know, uh, I'm able to, I feel, get the game's message across somewhat well. But every now and then there is a line or so that does throw me off. Um, so I'm going to take it back to the beginning and then all the way to what I'm doing now. So here, first off, the very first thing that I ever did was this thing here, right? The Michel Thomas method. Now this here I actually used before I even started learning Japanese. Um, I've used this with Dutch, which was a good system. And before I actually got proper into Japanese, maybe in June of 2015, is when I kind of consider myself of having started learning Japanese. There was another point, I feel, maybe early 2015, sometime of 2014 maybe, which I did actually check out the Michel Thomas Japanese, but I didn't really stick with it or anything. And so what the Michel Thomas method is it is an audio method. People might be similar. I often hear it compared to Pimsleur, um, in which you're basically listening in to a teacher teach two students um, the language that you're trying to learn. Now, like if you go to how it works, no books, no writing, no memorizing, just confidence. Um, so like they said, it does not focus on the written language, which I guess in some languages doesn't really matter too much because if it's romanized, like certain languages, they can just spell it out. But if it's like Japanese or something, that is a big portion of the language that you are missing out on. Um, but in the beginning, it doesn't really matter too much, I would say, like as long as you can get it down there at some point. Um, but there's what I started with um, in June of 2015 or so. I'm trying to think of anything else about it. A lot of people, I think, a big complaint is that they wish that the students weren't there, that because the students often get the questions wrong. That never personally really bothered me. Um, I think the students are kind of there to like remind you that that you're not the only one that messes up or something like that. And so after that, um, now after that, I learned hiragana and katakana, which are the syllable-based writing systems of Japanese. Now, the way that I did it is a way that people don't really need to do it, and I'll go back into doing this um, when I get into how I learned kanji. But if you look here, you have all of the hiragana, um, and really all you really need to do, I would say, to learn the hiragana well is you don't really need fancy books and methods and whatnot for this. I would really just say that looking at them, writing them out, like let's say write 5 a day or something out. Say a I U E O. Next day kaki kukeko and whatnot, and and then maybe like add them to like a flashcard deck type thing, and try to like practice reading them and whatnot, because there are so many like apps and whatnot that are like teach katakana, like teach hiragana fast, like if you look up hiragana on Steam, there are games built to like teach people hiragana, but really all you need is like a pen and paper and just look at a list of them, because like it isn't too difficult. um Now, one thing I just want to mention is for the first while of my study, um, a lot of the material that I got, I did not really get through legit means or whatever. Um, After a point, I did start. Let's just leave it at that, right? But after a point, um, I did start getting physical books and whatnot. After like I kind of decided that like it was something that I was very serious about. And that is also something I want to talk about a little bit, um, the being serious thing. But at first, I was just downloading basically PDFs. So for certain method for these next two methods, I will actually just show a PDF. So here we have next we have. So I learned hiragana, and I also learned yeah, hiragana. And then where's this is the only Wikipedia. This is the only wiki. This is the this is only the Wikipedia page for hiragana. So then I also learned katakana. Um, like I said, I at the time that I did this, I did it using like a PDF version of like a book made to teach people hiragana and katakana. But you really don't need that type of thing. Like you just writing it down and whatnot really would help. Now next off, I used two different book methods for, and I would really say this was a big foundation, a big rock of where my knowledge has come from. Obviously, the Michel Thomas method got me started, and I would say that without the Michel Thomas method to kind of lay a little bit of a foundation, I would say that going into these next two methods probably would have been a bit overwhelming for me. Even though these two are actually meant to be beginner methods, um, they just moved at a bit of a pretty quick pace. So here, this is something called ASCII meal, which is something that I'll look at a PDF of it in a second, but it's got an audio disc. You can find it on Amazon. It's a 2-volume uh series. It's quite expensive, as you can see. Um, Basically, it's a 100 volumes, and I believe the idea is that you do not 100 volumes, 100 lessons. You do one lesson a day, and in theory, after lesson 50, you go back and do lesson one again each day. So you're doing 2 lessons a day. So you do like lesson 51, lesson one, lesson 52, lesson two, and kind of as a way of hammering in the knowledge, as well as what you're also doing is just showing yourself how much you've learned. Um, and the other method that I used around this time, so like I said, I went kind of overboard here, and I was like, and I used two sort of beginner methods, um, and was this linguaphone course, which I'll also show off in a second. Now, what was I gonna say? I'd say that compared, yeah. So here's the I believe that this is the one that I used. Um, I believe that the one that I used was like maybe a bit older or something, but the pictures here in this little picture look similar to the one that I used. Um, so here let's all right. So what I've done is, because I don't want to like just show off the entire book or whatever, um, and I also don't want to just like show off the first lesson or whatever. I do want to give people a little bit of the meat. I'm going to show off the 10th lesson of each. I believe Linguaphone Asimil's got 100 lessons and Linguaphone's got 50. So keep in mind that there's going to be a bit of a difference in how they progress. So this here is Asimil number 10. So as you can see, it's parallel pages or whatever, with Japanese on one side, English on the other. Um, now a couple, I guess, critiques that people might have to this are that each each line of Japanese has got romaji under it, and that's something that you probably want to kind of avoid after you've learned how to read hiragana and katakana. Um, it does drop the romaji late into the second volume, but by that point, like you're like it's already, it had so much. Um, but you have like all the Japanese text, as well as a like a, I guess a phonetic, um like a phonetization or whatever. Like a says osumo omiyashita ka, and it says osumo like it actually, like, a phonetic um breakdown of what it is. Then you hear how you have, along with the translation, you have a word for word what's going on here. So a familiarity, which is the o, sumo, which is sumo, object, which is o, watched, which is mimashita, then question, which is ka. And one sort of pet peeve that I have with Asimil is that, as you can see here, it's got like a very like detailed this like note about sumo wrestling. And if I scroll down, it's got like it's peppered with like notes and whatnot, on culture and the language. And here you have like a good note about using the I believe it's called the kurikaishi sign, which is to repeat Chinese characters. Um, so you have like this like really in-depth description of sumo, which I imagine that most people reading this would know what sumo is. Um, but there's a lot of stuff that they don't give you notes on. There's a lot of times where they'll introduce a grammar without um, breaking it down, and that's something that, if you're using a book, like a lot of people use something called Genki, I believe that it will use kind of break down all the grammar that it teaches. Um, and that's kind of like a pet peeve of mine. Uh, because the idea of like it's called axiomil because it's assimilating the grammar into you. But there are some times where, like, you know it'll like use a grammar for like one time in the entire book, um, which has been annoying. So here, and then next up, we got the linguaphone. Now, here, the weird thing about the linguaphone is that it comes in three separate books, and probably the biggest drawback to this is that it's completely in Romaji. Um, However, it is, for what it is actually still. I went through it all. a very good uh little thing. Like it teaches some heavy Japanese. So, うちの客間の佐藤さんの、うちの客、うちの客、うちの客もと佐藤さんの客間についていろいろお話ししましたから、今度は少しあなたにお聞きしましょう。Then you have a translation which has all the vocabulary. And now here's something, because at this point when I was doing this, when I started using these books, I still hadn't done any sort of direct vocabulary study. Each lesson basically, in both Asimil and much more linguaphone here, as the lessons went on, they became more and more difficult to understand because just each lesson just was just pelting me with vocabulary. Like each lesson would just have a ridiculous amount of vocabulary that I didn't know, and it was like really hard to make it through. So I was mainly going through it for the grammar notes and points. So here we have translation and all the new words. Then you have the grammar breakdown. So here's a breakdown of that line that I just read. The grammar breakdowns are sometimes very good, and sometimes sometimes the grammar breakdowns are like one sentence of here's little thing. So here I have like Uchi no Kakamoto Sato-san no kakama ni tsuite, about our drawing room and the Sato's drawing room. Further examples: Senkyo ni tsuite, about the elections. Tenki ni tsuite, about the weather. And so forth. And so that's that. And then, as I mentioned, I talked about doing focused vocabulary study. Around this time, I probably would have started doing two things: studying vocabulary and studying kanji, which are the Chinese characters. And this is probably maybe about 6 months or so into my studying. And so for vocabulary, what I would recommend people do is, now there was a group, a company called I Know, which made a flashcard deck of 6,000 the 6,000 most common Japanese words as I understand it. And then I believe someone else took those 6,000 words and added like 4,000 to it to make it 10,000. But eventually, that I Know company, they demanded like copyright or something, and have since demanded that this deck be taken down from the internet. So chances are this is not. I'm pretty sure this is actually the one that you'll probably want. Probably is not the exact same one that I used, but it tends to get re-uploaded every time it gets taken down. And so this here is basically, I'm not sure if I actually explained what this is. If people aren't familiar with Anki, Anki is a flashcard app. You can use it on your desktop, or you can use it on a mobile device, and it's a very handy little thing. Now the real key thing to it is, for it to work, you need to be honest with yourself and you need to do it regularly. Because the way it works is, I'm not going to show it off with my own because I myself haven't actually done it in a while. Partly because, like I said, I'm not sure if I really need to, but and partly just because I have just been a bit lazy. Um, but so here you have, let's say it'll come up and say this word mama. Now that's another thing. A lot of these words, it says 10,000, but like probably maybe like 1,000 or so are katakana words, or something like that. So maybe probably not 1,000, but like a lot of them are. Um, and a katakana word being like, a word like this, like mama, which if you're an English speaker, you'll be able to comprehend and recognize. Again, this you'll notice that when I highlight over Japanese text, I get the definition. This is a Firefox add-on called Rikai-sama. Um, and so this here is basically what the cards look like. And
ママ。ママに聞いてみよう。
like I said, you get like that little audio. I've got my volume turned down a little bit, so hopefully you can hear it. And you get like a little sentence explaining, like a little context sentence and a little picture. Sometimes the pictures are completely irrelevant. Here you have some more. So you have jitaku, which is an actual Japanese word.
自宅。自宅に電話をください。
And then you have like a bunch of example sentences if you really want all those.
大戦で多くの人が亡くなりました。
But yeah, you would download that onto Anki, and the way it works is it basically asks you, do you know this word? And you have a choice of like easy, or like how difficult was this word for you? And you basically say easy, good, or hard, I believe, or some of that. And like I said, like the trick to it is to be honest. And if you don't know the word, fess up and like mark it as hard, and so you'll get the word again soon, and so it'll be more hammered into your brain. I feel like that might have sounded a bit weird. And then, like I said, along with this vocabulary study, I also started learning, taking a look at the kanji, which are the Chinese characters. Now, the way that I did kanji is probably very different from a lot of people, at least foreign learners, because I basically did the way that, as I understand it, like Japanese people do it, which is going in a very specific order. Right, so here we have, there's a Wikipedia page here called Kyo Iku Kanji, which is like little education kanji. You have this little, like it just goes in an order. Now, what a lot of people do is there are a lot of different systems out there that I've not used. A very popular one is Remembering the Kanji by a fellow named James Heisig, which gives the kanji little stories, and like you learn them, like you go from simple to you go from the simplest kanji to the most complex, so that it's very easy to, I guess, learn how to write the kanji then, because you're just like remembering one thing and then combining them, or like remembering like very few things and then combining them. The method that I did, however, was, like I said, I just kind of went the school method, which like doesn't always go from most simple to most complex, but rather is, I'm not entirely sure the exact order. Like, I know it's some sort of weird system of being judged. Like, it's partly consider like frequency, as well as partly um just concept wise, like, will a student understand, like if we look at the sixth grade kanji, either stuff like various theory, like would a first grader understand theory, for example. um and now, how exactly did I tackle this? um I basically, what I did, I'll what I did is, I've got a little notebook here. Oh, wait a second. I went down this list and I wrote them. I do not actually have. Right, so here we have my little list. Unfortunately, I do not have I'm not sure if I still have the paper. Actually, I think I do have it somewhere. Where I wrote down my very first kanji learning. I think this is here is second grade kanji. Let's see, what is this? It's hiku kumo natsu. I think, yeah, this is definitely, I think, in the second grade. That's toi, kuni, hikari. Basically, what I did was, here I wrote the kanji more than I did later on. So let me just explain. Um, I would write the kanji out a bunch of times, and then I would add it to my own personal Anki deck dedicated for studying the kanji. And then, even if I didn't, like, if I saw the kanji in the wild, or then if I saw the kanji in the wild, even if I didn't remember it, like, know what it was, I would still kind of have this feeling of, oh yeah, that's one of those ones that I wrote down a bunch. Um, and I guess after writing, and after reviewing a bunch and just general reading and whatnot, and also that 10K Anki deck has, if you're going through that 10K Anki deck, you will be learning words and learning the kanji readings, because you'll be seeing the words in their position, if that makes sense. Like, if I go back to this, wait, like if I go back here, for example, Jitaku here, hopefully you can see that, like, it does look a bit small on my screen. Um, let's say you know this kanji means self, and you know that this kanji means house, but you don't know how to read it. Then going through the 10K Anki deck, you know, if you pay attention to what the characters are, um, you'll learn that they're pronounced Jitaku, um, or like, you know, it, it it isn't always that this character will be pronounced G and this character will be pronounced Taku, but I believe that is the case in this situation. But going through that deck will help teach you the readings, um, and so that's helped me quite a bit. And like, just to show off like a little bit, like I said, eventually I did actually stop. Like, eventually I almost went. I started writing one line. Um, I'm sure. Is that Yuki? I'm looking at it through the webcam. I think that might be a Taeru. What is that? Itsuru? I think that's a Tool, Kimi, Doctor. Gin, I think. Arawasu, shi, shi, mu, some like a prefecture or something like that. And I'll just like write out a few each day, and well, eventually you end up having a lot of kanji written out and reviewed. Now, can I recognize them all? If it's a very obscure one, not really. Like I said, it depends on how common it is. Because there are kanji which are not taught in school, or at least or like through middle school, which are called Jin Meo kanji and whatnot, but are more common than some of the middle school kanji, and you'll just end up being able to recognize those before the other ones, if that makes sense, because you're seeing them more often because they're more common. Hopefully that actually makes sense. So what else is there? And so doing that, I should probably actually start. I should probably actually also show off my own Anki deck. Eventually, what I did was um, I even though 10,000 words is quite a lot, there's also quite a lot that it does not cover. So what a lot of people do then is they make their own Anki decks. And this is something that I've still got going, and I still actually add words to, even though I actually haven't reviewed Anki in quite a while. I still make Anki cards because I still might. I would like to get back into doing some heavy reviews one day. And just that the act of making the flashcard, I feel does do something to remind you of it. And plus, it's a little catalog to help look back at all the words that you've learned. If that makes sense, even if you don't necessarily review them too often. So here, I just have it's called anime and game words because a lot of the words that I'm learning were from anime and games. So here's from pretty recently. Try to find a random word. Now, in the beginning, I didn't do this, but these days I try to always put in the sentence that you got the word from, for context. And sometimes, like, it'll be in a situation where a character might just shout out a word and it'll just like won't really make any sense. Those times I might just I'm not sure what I do those times. Sometimes I actually just don't add the word to Anki. So here we have the word tawawa, which is I'll show off the book that I got this from in a second. Which in the word is in the sentence is kiniro ni kagayaku ha ga shigeri shiroi hoseki ga tawawa ni minottemasu. I believe it's a golden shining leaf was like bloomed, and white jewels were, I guess, droopingly growing from it in the word. Like the word means like drooping, bending of a heavy branch. And I get a lot of my definitions from gshow.org. I'll show you there. This gshow.org. This will generally cover most of my stuff. But if it, what I'm trying to say, it should cover most stuff. But if you run into something that you do not find a definition for, what I will then do is go down here where it says Gu Jisho or ALC, which are two other dictionary sites. And these actually give Japanese definitions. So I typed in inu, which is dog. Here it actually might be a kind of a difficult word because how do you define dog really? Shokuniku moku inu. Yeah, it's like carnivore of the canine family, mammal. But it tends to kind of be more like that, whereas like this would kind of just be one word English translation. And so there is sort of that. We're not done yet, though, by any means. This is probably going to go on for a little bit longer. And that's sort of me making Anki deck words. Like that's something that I still do every day. Like whenever I come across a new word, I try to make or add it to Anki. Like like if I'm watching an anime or something and I hear a new word, I'll look it up, and then when the episode ends, I'll add all the new words that I heard to Anki. Like I said, even though I haven't reviewed Anki in a while, I just like making the cards because like it just gives you something to keep track of, I guess. So now I'm gonna show off some books. Give me a second. I apologize for hitting the microphone so much. I was turning around to get some books that I put down. And I'm going to show off some stuff. So this here is theory. In theory, we're going back in time a little bit because a lot of stuff that I was talking about, I was doing concurrently. So we're going back in time a little bit to after I completed Assimil and Linguaphone, right? Now, you're going to see a lot of stuff here. Okay, how am I going to cover this? Let's all right. Actually, yeah, let me quickly sort my desk out a little bit and get the books that I need to show off when I'm going to show them off. Okay, here, actually, let's yeah, I've got this. Okay. So this here, as like I said in the beginning, like in the beginning I was just kind of getting PDFs and whatnot, but here now I've actually started getting, physical books. This here is Tobira, a gateway to advanced Japanese. Jokju e no Tobira. It's it's a bit faded. Now this here is for people who do, go, I guess, the traditional method, and by traditional I mean like use Genki. This is something that a lot of people use after Genki 1 and 2. And like I said, or like the title says, it's a gateway to advanced Japanese. It's there to ease your way into some more advanced stuff. And I would say this is a very, very good book. And once going through this, um, I feel like I was able to have a much, much more, and obviously going through this in combination with, learning vocabulary through Anki and whatnot, I was able to, my understanding went through the roof, I believe. So let's look at it. See, we've got like, let me look at I think my favorite chapter is chapter 6, which talks about Japanese amaterasu and whatnot. These chapters are fairly long. So I went through this, I think maybe about a month or two. So here we have, each chapter usually will have so here we have like a little grammar note thing, the difference between ga and keredomo. And this chapter is Nihonjin no Shukyo, Japanese religion. You have yeah, I was actually, you have is that, did I actually write that out myself? Wow. Has little activities. A lot of these textbooks have call for group work, which is something that I never really enjoy, because like I usually just read both. I just read the what's called like the rubric, and I just don't do anything after that. You have a little story. Here says 日本の神話にはグリシャ神話のように人間的な神様がたくさん出てきて、some there's this little story, and I don't believe there's an English translation. I think at this point they kind of expect you to understand stuff. And on the Tobira website there is they have, I think, an XML file of all the kanji they expect you to know going into this. And they have some audio files and whatnot as well. Like here, usually when it comes to like the activities, I usually either don't do them or just kind of slack off. What does that say? Amaterasu Omikami ni katte iwa no naka ni kakareta. So here we have the grammar section, which is to me the most valuable, the most valuable thing. Sometimes the grammar section is just basically a word, sora, which here basically just means each. Rashi, which means like or like ish, like, or like see, or here it means seems. Then bakari. Bakari is a word used to express the idea that someone does something all the time and does nothing else, or that someone chooses just one thing among the others when doing something. And you have some examples. Very good book. And you'll find that the grammar that's taught here will even be, or a lot of the stuff that I learned from Assimil and Linguaphone shows up here. And then a lot of the stuff that I learn here will show up in the next books that I'm gonna talk about. Right, and so very good book here. And then I'm trying to find where my this is not the thing I'm looking for. I'm not sure where I put it. I'm pretty sure I had it just a second ago. Well, I cannot find my Into book, but this here is in the same series. This is the next one. For people who don't know, there's a test called the Japanese Language Proficiency Test, called the JLPT, and this here is after people finish Tobira. A lot of people will then use, because as I understand it, there's not really, I guess, like a big focused advanced study book, like for like advanced Japanese. This here is a prep book for the Japanese language proficiency test for the grammar. There's also like vocab and whatnot, but I chose the grammar. Trying to find like the N2 book. Now it goes in 5 is the lowest, and in 2 or in 1 is the highest. Now I've actually had both of these books in 1 and in 2 for a while. Well, actually, I think I found it for some reason. It's on the floor on the other side of my room. The Into book is, but just imagine this says Into, but I've actually had the Into book for a while, but I actually haven't really used it because I just haven't really needed it, because I've been more kind of just picking up grammar as I read stuff or encounter it in native material, or and so forth. And like I said, a lot of it is actually just stuff that was already taught in Tobira. But here is in 1. So if I just I'll, and here all the stuff is in Japanese, even the script, the definitions. Let me try to find something that I know. I have o oite, which I'm pretty sure means except. No hoka ni onaji kurai takaku hyouka dekiru mono wa inai. Apologize for not holding still. So it says, Ima. Let me今こんな素晴らしい色、ええ色使いの染色ができる人は彼を置いて他にいない。So something like, except for him, there is nobody who has a mastery of color when it comes to dyeing things, or some of that. And the way I use these books is I have another Anki deck actually that has like for grammar that I have whatchamacallit, where I put in the example sentences and whatnot. You have ndeare, which is like be it. So 地震であれ、火事であれ、緊急の場合に、冷静になれる人は少ないだろう。So be it an earthquake or a fire, in an emergency, the people who can remain calm are few. Like I said, I still haven't even gone through the complete In2 book, so, but I actually have been doing it the past couple days. I've gotten back into it. I've kind of like said to myself, you know what, I really need to get back onto my grammar and just kind of knock this bad boy out. Like here's the example here. Ni itaru made. Like this here is taught in Tobira, which I'm pretty sure it just means like even, like highlights something, kind of. 今度の旅行のスケジュール表は綿密だ. Not sure what that means. Next, the trip's schedule is minmitsu. So let's do the next sentence. 父の趣味は料理です。食材も自家製でないと。Let's just move on to something because that was confusing me. So what else is there? So here, I guess now I'll just talk about some books. Because the idea is, like I said, I'm talking about. I'm not sure if I really said this in the beginning. I don't really feel I made a good intro to this. Let me put my little liquid picture back on. This here is just the way that I've done things, and am doing things. But it's by no means the only way to do things. It just kind of goes to show that there are many ways to do it and all that. So don't be copying my way just because I'm doing it and thinking that it's the way to do it. The way to do it is simply to be motivated and passionate and try hard. Another thing that I didn't actually show off around this time also is, let's go here. This here is a website called kitsunekko.com. Actually, go to the main website, kitsunekko.com. You'll come here, and then you'll go to download files, which is Japanese subtitles. Around this time of finishing Tobira and whatnot, I started coming here. Now, this website, basically, if you're wondering, it offers Japanese subtitles for anime. And not only anime, there are some like dramas, but it's mainly anime, and it's got quite a lot. If I scroll down, you'll see it's got a lot of stuff. I would say don't get too high hopes because there are a lot of stuff that there is a lot of stuff that it's missing, as well as one cruel thing about this thing is that a lot of these subtitles are out of sync, so you need to do extra work to get them in sync. And there are videos on how you can do that, with a program called Aegis Sub, but I'm not really going to go into that here. But here you've got like a ton of anime subtitles which are in Japanese. And like I said, like here you have a Kamen Rider, which is not anime but tokusatsu. And there's another site I believe is like this called diaries, which mainly kind of serves the same function but for Japanese dramas. Or maybe not only. I'm not sure if it's even only Japanese dramas. It might only also be like Korean and also stuff of that. Here you have just a ridiculous amount of Japanese subtitled anime, and if if you don't really understand what I'm talking about when I say that, let me just quickly. The one that I've prepped to show off is the one canon. People might be familiar. So here, like you'll see that like it's kind of the type of thing where you kind of have to like find, I guess, which one's the best file for your needs, because a lot of people will have different formats and whatnot. Like judging by the size of these files, they're like sub files, which I'm not really sure how to play. But if I open it, right? Like if I open thing here and look at it, like this is what it is, right? You've got all the dialogue that someone has gone out of their way to make for us very kindly. But unfortunately, like I said, a lot of them come from Japanese television, so a lot of them are very out of sync, and you need to like sync up, which isn't usually as bad as it might sound, because usually once you've figured out how bad a certain show is out of sync, usually oftentimes each episode has the exact same amount of out of sync or desync or whatever. And so you can just kind of like go and apply that to each episode. Sometimes, however, it does each episode is different, and sometimes there are multiple points where it goes out of sync, and so it can be a bit finicky. But it happens. Let's quickly show off what I'm talking about here. And I'll also, needless to say, so here I've got the anime canon loaded up. Kind of meant for people who've got it's meant for downloading shows and not streaming shows and whatnot. So here I would load up just the subtitle track and then play it. Wait, nope, that's not how to do. I've set my I've got like keyboard shortcuts to like quickly like rewind and pause and whatnot, and delete is the pause button.
雪積もってるよ。
そりゃ2時間も待ってるからな。
うわ、びっくり。まだ2時くらいだと思ってたよ。
2時でも1時間の遅刻だ。
All right, so that's kind of an example of that. Let's say, for example, and then watching that, he said Niji Kurai something shikoku. Let's say you didn't know the word shikoku, you would go here, I would look it up, shikoku, and it's late, lateness, late coming, and then I would go back and I would watch it. And like I said, what I do is I tend to like look up all my words and then add them to Anki after the episode's done, so I don't have to like take too much time away from watching my show or whatever. And so that's that. And some more stuff we've got here. I'll show off in here in a second. Okay. Right. Okay, this film here, this here is a dictionary of advanced Japanese grammar. I feel like this deserves a notable mention. I've actually not used this series too much. There's also another one, a blue and a yellow one, which are intermediate and beginner. But they basically it is what it is. It's a reference guide. It's not meant to You're not meant to learn stuff with it, but it's a very useful for. It's got basically every grammar point you could really need. Notice how I focus a lot on the grammar. Like then people will focus on different stuff. For me, the grammar is a very important part. Here we have like hatashite, an adverb indicating that subject transitive occurred as writer expected, or expressing the concession clause of the writer's strong doubt. Let's find a good one. It's not. It's just a word. Iwaba, an adverb that means if I were to say it in some way or a different way. この本はいわば私のバイブル. This is, as it were, my Bible. この試験はいわばアメリカの大学の留学する際のTOEFL のに当たる。TOEFL, TOEFL. I'm not sure how you really pronounce that. That's just kind of like how in Japanese there's the JLPT. In English there's TOEIC and then there's TOEFL. I'm not really sure what the difference is. So this test, so to speak, is the equivalent of the TOEFL, which people take when they want to study in the university in the U.S. And it's also got, if there's a similar grammar, it'll actually explain it. It's a really neat thing to have. Iwayuru, like it's good little book. I'm kind of wrapping up here, just kind of showing off some various stuff that I've got, and just kind of starting to notice perhaps that a lot of my studying these days, quote unquote, is kind of done by just a lot of exposure. Here is classical Japanese grammar. This is something I actually have not even. I've opened it and I've looked inside, but this is something that when will I get to this? I don't really know. It is what it is. It's teaches the grammar of classical Japanese, which is Japanese as it was spoken very, very long time ago. But it's something that I like to get to in the future. I just thought I would put that in here. This here is Taketori Monogatari, Now, there's not really a specific reason I'm showing this off, other than I've been reading it recently. It's what I showed off a word which was tawawa, my Anki deck earlier, and this is actually where I got that from. This is from Aoi Tori Bunko. I think they're like a publisher. I'm not sure what a bunko is. I know it's like a book warehouse is what it literally means, but I don't think it's actually literally a book warehouse. I think it's like a publisher or something. But I think these people like make books designed for different ages of children. Now, the way that I get books, for the longest time, now I've got a lot of books that I've not read. For the longest time, what I would do is I would just straight up order them with my own Amazon account, and it would take a very long time. It would take them like over a month to arrive. But recently I've actually learned that I've made my own Amazon Japan account, and ordering stuff. This is where I got this from Amazon Japan. Ordering stuff, or not only ordering stuff, but searching for stuff. You can find more stuff on the search, and but when you order stuff, it arrives much quicker. I believe, I ordered it one day and it arrived like maybe 3 days later, compared to like the months that it was taking before. But like I said, I've been reading this which I guess is on honorable mention, because I really haven't read too much in Japanese, so it'd probably be something that I look back at, and kind of smile about. This next one will be a bit weird for some people. This here is look how thick it is. It's seisho, which is a Japanese translation of the Bible. Now, funnily enough, if you ever looked at an English Bible, you'll know that it's kind of split into like two columns. Column 1 here and then like column 2 here. And like the same sort of effect is kept in the Japanese, where it's two rows, which is kind of funny. And this here, obviously it's, with it being such a big book, I'm not done reading it by any means. But this here is, people say this was my Bible, but this here has been my Bible in a lot of ways. Because, it's, a lot of, looking at that in one book that I was looking at a few minutes ago, that book that supposedly, has the, if you can pass the JLPT1, you're the most advanced Japanese speaker or whatever. Looking through the grammar that I knew in the JLPT1 book, it's grammar that I knew because I had seen it reading the Japanese Bible. Because a lot of that JLPT1 grammar is very, formal, very stiff, very old-fashioned grammar, you know what I mean? And yeah, that's been something that's helped me quite a bit. Now let me think, is there anything else to really show off? Because that's kind of been my journey. And if there is not anything else to show off, I do want to kind of take a little moment to just kind of emphasize on, don't be discouraged if you aren't making, if it doesn't feel like you're making progress, or don't be discouraged if you just don't be discouraged. Because it will take a long time, and sometimes you will slip up and you will miss days of studying, but if you can find ways to enjoy yourself with the language, like I said, like I showed off watching anime with Japanese subtitles, um, you know, even in the days where you do slack off a little bit, you can still make it into a sort of studious, um, day. You know what I mean? Like you can still kind of make it into some sort of like benefit for yourself with watching a show with Japanese subtitles or some of that. One thing for me is I've actually since like watching stuff with Japanese subtitles, these days find it difficult to watch stuff with English subtitles because oftentimes the line that you see translated, it doesn't actually come until like a few seconds later, and so like there's this weird sort of mental like dissonance that's kind of weird. But yeah, like if you just keep at it and like you, it might look like I've done all this stuff, but if anything, the thing that has kept me that has brought me to the point in my Japanese that I am now is simply keep 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 keeping doing it. Um, if I had gotten to a point, I finished, Michelle Thomas or something and gave up, I wouldn't be able to play Boku no Natsuyasumi and understand anything. It's a slow process, but it is worth it. And the thing is, I remember thinking to myself, I used to be, see people say stuff like, I can watch an anime and understand a lot of stuff, but I'll miss a lot of details. And I used to like look at those people, and I used to like think to myself, oh man, that's if only I could have that. Like like I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be able to understand most of what they're saying. And if I'm missing a couple details, who cares? Um, the thing is, being in that position now, I sort of realize it's like I'm not really sure if like there's like a necessarily a good way to end it, but it's like I realize that it's not good enough. Like I feel still motivated to continue. Um, like until I understand it all, I don't want to. I'm still does that make sense? Um, I'm still driven. Um, but that's that, folks. And so if you do learn Japanese, that's or for the people who were wondering what all I did to get to the point where I am, that's what I did. And notice how I have not, because people when they ask questions, they might word it like, how did you learn Japanese? Using it in the past tense or whatever. But I specifically am trying to put emphasis on the point where I did not learn Japanese. I'm still learning it. And like I'm not sure where to go with that. But hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully that taught you something, and maybe taught you about some new things. If you, but even if you don't, agree with my method, like I said, there's my my methods are pretty, I would say, unorthodox. Like I say, most people use Anki. Most people use um, Tobira. Um, but as for Assimil and Linguaphone and Michel Thomas that I showed off in the very beginning, I'd say that they're pretty rare among people. A lot of people just use Genki 1 and Genki 2, and get it over with, or like Minna no Nihongo, some of that. But I'm gonna stop rambling right now, folks, and hope you enjoyed. And till next time, look it out. Hey guys, I finished. I'm recording this after I finished recording the video. This is one thing that I forgot to touch upon. This is lang8.com. And this is a website that I use very frequently. And this is a site where you, if you're learning a language, it doesn't have to be Japanese. It could be pretty much any language really that I know. You can make little journals or diaries or whatever, and have them corrected by native speakers, and in turn correct native speakers of, or correct learners of your own native language. So like, I'll look at my my page recently. I generally try to post every day. Not sure if I can. I think there are certain days where it's marked me as not having typed anything, like having done anything, but I think that's mainly because of oh yeah, every day in November. Nice. Like marks me as not having done anything on October 19th for some reason. So like look at my. And so what I generally do with these is they're either generally kind of like a journal where I talk about something that I've done recently, or an event that's happened recently, and most often though they're oftentimes just random sentences. Like here, or here's an example. These are all practicing like new grammar that I learned from that N2 book. 練習してからでないと今度の試合に勝てない. If we don't practice, we can't win the next game. 君と踊って初めて私は本心に気づいた. It wasn't until dancing with you that I realized my true feelings. 今日は私が生まれてからこの方の一番楽しかった日です. And then you see like people have corrected me and also given me notes. You know, it says 正しいけど生まれてこの方は少し緊苦の堅苦しい表現になります。もう少しカジュアルな言い方だと今まで一番人生で一番なるがあります。So they're basically saying it's correct but very formal, and if you want to be more casual, you can say it like this. Here's an example of when I was reading that Taketori Monogatari that I showed off, with the picture of the girl on the cover. I made a little diary about it. So, Taketori Monogatari というお話を読み始めました。Any time I write a journal or something, I always use the polite form. But whenever I write random sentences, I usually use impolite form, or not impolite form, but just standard dictionary form. That tends to be my way of doing things. And yeah, like I said, I really enjoy. It's fun to interact with fellows on this site and whatnot. One thing is there's another site which is Hello Talk, which I'm not used, which is more like a phone app, I believe. Like you can like talk to people like over like a phone, over like a phone. I believe that's pretty popular. And one thing also that I didn't mention was at some point, I really don't do it too much, but at some point I did actually use whatchamacallit. Or I have listened to a very few Japanese podcasts, but very very few. And I guess that's really main thing to wanted to mention that I'd forgotten to mention. One thing that my little pet peeve about this Lang 8 is that you see a lot of people who are not native speakers in a language correcting someone's post in that language. I've never been corrected by a non-Japanese speaker, but I see a lot of Japanese fellows being corrected by like other Japanese fellows and or like Vietnamese or some of that. Like it's to me you should be corrected by a native. And that's something that whenever I see that happening, I roll my eyes because I've never seen a non-native make a perfect line of corrections. So that just made me ranting. But have I enjoyed? Look it out.